The Blue Eyes Archetype is a powerful group of light dragon type monsters, all born from their progenitor, the iconic Blue Eyes White Dragon. Many people would argue that out of every single card in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, above Dark Magician, above Exodia the Forbidden One, Blue Eyes White Dragon is the most recognizable card in the Yu-Gi-Oh game. Its debut was in the first episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Used exclusively by Kaiba in the anime, their connection was forged long ago before their modern day meeting. In a past life in ancient Egypt, the soul of a girl called Kasara, the love of Priest Seto's life, fused with the Blue Eyes White Dragon in order to protect and watch over him for all time. This act created an unbreakable connection, and while modern day Kaiba initially collected the cards for their status and power, eventually they would become inseparable and a part of his identity. In the real world, the Blue Eyes White Dragon made its international debut in the very first Yu-Gi-Oh booster pack, Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Over time, cards were added to support it, eventually leading to its own dedicated support archetype, the With Eyes of Blue series. These cards are a group of level 1 light spellcaster tuner monsters which serve as the deck's strategic engine. You could think of the Blue Eyes Dragons as the heavy hitters and the With Eyes of Blue spellcasters as the cards that allow these powerful plays and upgrades into even stronger monsters. This is because the Blue Eyes deck strategy is to establish field control. This is achieved by destroying opponents' monsters, as it specializes in both synchro and fusion summoning. This directly contrasts Kaiba's and Blue Eyes' destined rivals, Yugi and his Dark Magician, since their archetype focuses on fusion and Xyz summoning instead. In fact, even their respective summoning mechanics, Dark Magician with the black border, Blue Eyes White Dragon with a white border, they're just opposites to each other. In fact, speaking of, Blue Eyes White Dragon has made a lot of anime appearances, and as such, throughout the show, it got a couple upgraded forms. However, in the real world, it got a lot more different parallel upgrade, downgrade forms. So we're gonna go through them all right now. Starting first with, of course, the original Blue Eyes White Dragon. Its flavor text reads, a powerful engine of destruction, virtually invincible. Very few have faced this awesome creature and lived to tell the tale. This reputation for unmatched might is central to its identity. In fact, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Toei movie, this symbolism was further defined by how the Blue Eyes was presented as a card that brings victory to its wielder, representing a perfected, undeniable power. While in contrast, its counterpart, the Red Eyes Black Dragon, was said to symbolize untapped potential. The possibility, but not the guarantee of victory. This lore established a powerful dichotomy between the two dragons and their respective duelists, Kaiba and Joey. Kaiba, naturally gifted, a great and amazing duelist on his own. Joey, in contrast, was someone that had to build himself up, earn his red eyes, and make a name for himself, essentially. I always have to think, why have we never had a Blue Eyes and Red Eyes fusion? This thing has never existed. It just feels right to combine power and potential together for like the ultimate dragon. And I guess this is worth mentioning that if you would like to see a Blue Eyes and Red Eyes fusion, well, there is a t-shirt you can buy, the Purple Eyes Grey Dragon. Shameless self-plug, I know, but it came up naturally. I'll leave a link in the description and down in the pinned comments. If you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to, but if not, no worries. As a fan favorite and one of the most popular cards in the game's history, Blue Eyes is featured in more alternative artworks than any other card in the game. Dark Magician Girl technically has more different artworks, but this is mainly due to censorship. She has a original version from the Japanese and then the censored version for international. This happens a lot, pretty much with every single card. Since Blue Eyes White Dragon doesn't have any booba to get censored, this doesn't really happen for Blue Eyes. So technically, Blue Eyes has more original artworks. Blue Eyes' attack name in the anime is White Lightning in the English, while in the Japanese, it's Burst Stream of Destruction. Both of these attack names have been referenced in other cards. For example, Burst Stream of Destruction is a spell which, if you control a Blue Eyes White Dragon, lets you destroy all monsters your opponent controls. However, Blue Eyes White Dragon you control cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. White Lightning appears in Mystical Elf White Lightning. Its effect is when a monster your opponent controls activates its effect while you control a level 5 or higher normal monster. Quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate that effect. During your opponent's battle phase, quick effect, you can target one normal monster in either graveyard, special summon it to your field, and if you do, all monsters your opponent controls must attack that monster this turn. Why Mystical Elf and Blue Eyes White Dragon merged together? This is Yugioh's card. Well, it actually comes from an episode from Duelist Kingdom, where Yugioh used Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon in order to defeat fake Kaiba. He used Mystical Elf's magical chant to power up Blue Eyes in order to get the victory. Now, of course, Blue Eyes isn't a singular card. It is actually a playset. You always think of Blue Eyes as 3 of a kind because that's how Kaiba always used them. He always had a full playset. However, when polymerization is involved, we get their ultimate form. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This requires 3 Blue Eyes to be fused in order to be summoned. While it has no effect, back in the day, it was the highest stat monster in existence. And in fact, it still is technically, as it's the most powerful non-effect monster in terms of attack points, even all these years later. Ultimate Dragon, like the original, also has some alternate artworks. And like Blue Eyes, its attack name got made into a card, Neutron Blast. Its effect, target 1 fusion summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon you control. This turn, it can make a second and then a third attack during each battle phase. Also, when it attacks, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. This ability is a reference to how really early in the show, and possibly a nod to the Bandai version, the original version of the card, this monster was technically 3 monsters in one. So those 3 heads were 3 different monsters that could each attack. And if you remember in the duel against Yugioh, Yugioh had to defeat each of the heads in order to get over Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Finally, before we move away from the original Blue Eyes and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, many rival characters in later anime series follow a pattern that Kaiba set out. A dragon-type monster with 3000 attack, or just really any monster with 3000 attack, always seemed to be what a rival would use in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Yugioh's was obviously the Dark Magician with a 2500 attack. Protagonists would follow that suit. But for Kaiba, this was what set the trend forward. We would get cards like Zane's Cyber Dragon and Cyber End Dragon, Chaz's Arm Dragon level 10, Jack Atlas's Red Dragon Archfiend, Kite Tenjo's Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon and Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, Reggie Akaba's DDD Doom King Armageddon, and Revolver's Borrello Dragon. And it's also worth mentioning Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon has 2 upgraded forms, both of which appeared in movies. The first is Blue Eyes Shining Dragon that appeared in the Pyramid of Light movie. Its effect is it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from the hand by attributing 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. It gains 300 attack for each dragon monster in your grave. And when a card or effect is activated that targets this card, quick effect, you can negate that effect. Now, full disclosure, while this card is awesome looking, it's not very good because you're going to have to give up Blue Eyes, Blue Eyes, Blue Eyes, Polymerization, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. That's 5 cards in order to make this card. And keep in mind, you've just given up a 4500 attack point monster. If you only use these 4 dragons, you're going to only add 3, 6, 9, 1200 attack points to this monster. Meaning it's weaker than Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And if you want to hear a funny bit of lore, this card released before Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon released, making it unplayable for 2 years. And there was a little bit of controversy with this card, as its effect, which allows it to gain 300 attack per dragon in the grave, well, in the Pyramid of Light movie, Kaiba had 5 dragons in his grave, so it gave him enough attack to destroy Yugi's Sorcerer of Dark Magic. But a mistake was made. There was actually a 6th dragon in the grave, Paladin of White Dragon, which wasn't counted as a dragon for some reason. Because of this error, it actually cost Kaiba the duel, because with that extra 300 attack, he would have won. This is something I cover in the Pyramid of Light analysis video I made, but it's just a weird fun fact. Thought I'd mention it. In fact, while we're talking about Paladin of White Dragon, that is another card that supports the Blue Eyes archetype. It can be ritual summoned with the card White Dragon Ritual. This card can inflict piercing battle damage, and you contribute this card to special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck, but Blue Eyes White Dragon cannot attack for the rest of this turn. The other Ultimate Dragon upgrade that also appeared in the movie, this time Dark Side of the Dimensions, was Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This monster requires 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons to be summoned. At the end of the damage step, if this is the only face-up card you control, and this fusion summoned card attacked, you can send 1 Blue Eyes fusion monster from your extra deck to the grave. This card can attack again in a row. You can only use this effect of Neo Ultimate Dragon up to twice per turn. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Yet again, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a reference to the 3 monsters in one of the original Ultimate Dragon. And it's worth mentioning, while Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a combination of the original Blue Eyes, 3 of them, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is much more likely to be 3 Blue Eyes alternative white dragons, which treat themselves as Blue Eyes. Visually looks like them, so let's talk about this card. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by revealing Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. This card's name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while on the field or in the grave. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. This card cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. Fun fact, Red Eyes Black Dragon also has an alternative dragon form, just like Blue Eyes. As well, it has an upgraded alternate form. Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon. Requires 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon to be summoned. Your opponent cannot target or destroy this card with card effects. Once per turn, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. If this card was fusion summoned using a monster whose original name is Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon as a material, you can target up to 3 cards your opponent controls instead. This card cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. Now, if you've wondered, why have I never seen this card? This isn't in Mastered All. Well, that's because it's in copyright hell. You see, there is a licensing issue with its original artwork. Konami doesn't actually own the rights to use it without consent from the late artist's estate. Konami unfortunately cannot make alternative artworks for the card to bypass this restriction, so it remains unavailable to players in the game. There's a few cards that unfortunately fall under this banner, so will we get them in the future? It's unsure. Dragon Spirit of White. This card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card. This card is treated as a normal monster while in the hand or the grave. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one spell trap your opponent controls, banish it. If your opponent controls a monster, quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. Now, Dragon Spirit of White is a specific evolution to the Blue Eyes line. It has its own upgraded forms. If you think of the original Blue Eyes and the alternatives as kind of the fusion part of the Blue Eyes stuff, well, the Spirit version or the Synchro version, because this monster has 2 upgraded forms. Its first upgraded form is Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Blue Eyes monsters. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a card or effect in the graveyard is activated, you can negate the activation. During either player's turn, you can tribute the Synchro Summon card, special summon 1 light dragon type Synchro monster from your extra deck in defense, except Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but destroy it during the end phase of this turn. Its second upgraded form is Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Requires 2+ tuners plus 1 non-tuner Blue Eyes monster. Your opponent cannot banish cards from your graveyard. When a card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, this card gains 1000 attack until the end of this turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 light dragon monster from your grave, except Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 ritual spell or 1 polymerization from your deck to your hand. During your end phase, you can add 1 level 8 or higher dragon monster from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard. All level 8 or higher dragon monsters you control gain 1000 attack. You can only use each effect of Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon once per turn and can only activate them while Blue Eyes White Dragon is on your field or in your grave. Now, interestingly, Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon has another form, an upgraded form technically, and if you think of an abyss, it's a big, deep hole in the ground, I guess. Well, Deep Eyes White Dragon is the next one you get. Its effect is when a face-up Blue Eyes monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, and you have a dragon-type monster in your grave, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, inflict 600 damage to your opponent for each dragon-type monster with different names in your grave. This card is normal or special summon, target 1 dragon monster in your grave. This card's attack becomes equal to that monster's. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card or effect, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Blue Eyes Solid Dragon. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can shuffle this card from the field into the deck, and if you do, special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck. Now, what's cool about Solid Dragon is it's actually a reference to Kaiba's technology, the Dual Disc. Its wings look like dual discs. Its name of Solid Dragon is a reference to Solid Vision technology, which is what the technology the Dual Discs use. Just think it's really cool. I can't believe they didn't do this a little bit sooner. It's a cool reference. I like it. In fact, speaking of cool Kaiba references to things he made, we also have Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn, and you can only activate them while Blue Eyes White Dragon is on your field or in your grave. If a card on the field is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard or hand. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Possibly the coolest nod to the anime.
Say what?
Hey, surprise, surprise!
Where does he get this stuff?
We have two Blue Eyes rituals which can be easily summoned using the ritual spell Chaos Form. The first is Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos Form, must be ritual summoned. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, also it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card was ritual summoned using Blue Eyes White Dragon, when it declares an attack, you can change the battle position of as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, the attack and defense of those monsters becomes 0. Also this turn, if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. Its upgraded form is Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos Form and must be ritual summoned. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict double piercing battle damage. Now, if you think we're done with the heavy hitter Blue Eyes cards, we definitely are not. We have a bunch of what ifs. For example, what if Kaiba only fused 2 of his Blue Eyes White Dragons together instead of 3? Well, you'd get Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. Must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above monsters you control to the grave. Cannot be destroyed by battle. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. At the end of the damage step, when this card attacks an opponent's monster, but the opponent's monster was not destroyed by the battle, you can banish that opponent's monster. Next up, what if Kaiba fused his Blue Eyes with his Tyrant Wings Trap? Well, you'd get Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Requires Blue Eyes White Dragon and a dragon monster. Must first be either fusion or special summon from your extra deck by attributing 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster, unaffected by trap cards or effects. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn, at the end of the damage step, if this card battled, you can target 1 trap in your grave, set it to your spell and trap zone. How about next? What if Yugi and Kaiba fuse some of their ultimate boss monsters together? Well, first of all, you'd get Dragon Master Knight, a fusion of Blackluster Soldier and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This card gains 500 attack for each dragon monster you control, except this card. Or how about Dragon Master Magia? Requires Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or 3 Blue Eyes monsters plus 1 Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster. Must be fusion summoned when your opponent activates a card or effect. Quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You can only use this effect in response to each card type once per turn. Monster, spell, or trap. If this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster or 1 Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster from your extra deck or grave. The next what if is, what if Kaiba learns how to Synchro Xyz summon, the anime version of him? What would be the very first Synchro Xyz monsters he'd make? Well, they'd be a bit rough around the edges. They wouldn't quite be Blue Eyes because they're brand new. These are the Silver Dragons. The Synchro one is Azure Silver Dragon. Requires 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner normal monster. If this card is special summoned until the end of the next turn, neither player can target dragon monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects. Once per turn, during your standby phase, you can target 1 normal monster in your grave, special summon it. For the Xyz version, we have Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon. Cannot attack directly unless this card has a normal monster as a material. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. You can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 normal monster in your grave, or banishment, special summon it, and if you do, it gains 1000 attack. Note that Azure Eyes Silver Dragon appears in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Chronicles animation alongside Maiden with Eyes of Blue. And I guess we should talk about some spin-off Blue Eyes, not part of the Blue Eyes archetype, but they appeared in other archetypes. These are the Toon Blue Eyes, the Malefic Blue Eyes, Grandpa Muto's 4th Blue Eyes, the 25th Anniversary Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon of Pride and Dragon Master Lord, the Ice version of Blue Eyes, White Knight Dragon, and a match winner version, Legendary Dragon of White. So those were the heavy hitters. Next up we have the With Eyes of Blue cards. First off, we have Maiden with Eyes of Blue. When a card or effect is activated that targets this card, quick effect, you can special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck or grave, When this card is targeted for an attack, you can negate that attack, and if you do, change the battle position of this card, then you can special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, deck, or grave. Maiden with Eyes of Blue has an alternate counterpart with Maiden of White. You can send this card from your hand or field to the grave, place one True Light from your hand, deck, or grave face up in your spell and trap zone. If you special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card is in your grave, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. When a card or effect is activated that targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted for an attack, quick effect, you can special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one level 1 Light Tuner from your grave. Both these monsters are, of course, Kasara from the anime, but in monster form. Master with Eyes of Blue. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one level 1 Light Tuner in your grave, add it to your hand. You can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck, then target one effect monster you control, send it to the grave, and if you do, special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your grave other than the sent monster. Priestess with Eyes of Blue. When a card or effect is activated that targets this face-up card, you can send one effect monster you control to the grave, and if you do, add up to 2 Blue Eyes monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your grave, you can target one Blue Eyes monster you control, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card. Protector with Eyes of Blue. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 1 Light Tuner from your hand. You can target one effect monster you control, send it to the grave, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your hand. Sage with Eyes of Blue. When this card is normal summoned, you can add one level 1 Light Tuner from your deck to your hand, except Sage with Eyes of Blue. You can discard this card, target one effect monster you control, send it to the grave, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. Sage with Eyes of Blue has an alternate counterpart in the form of Rider of the Storm Winds. You can target one dragon normal monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that target. If a monster equipped this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. If a monster equipped this card would be destroyed, destroy this card instead. And finally, we have the first and currently only Link monster in the archetype, Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Requires one level 4 or lower dragon or spellcaster monster to be summoned. You cannot special summon except dragon monsters. If this card is Link summoned, you can take one Mausoleum of White from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the grave. You can tribute this card, special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your hand or grave, but if you special summoned an effect monster from your grave by this effect, it cannot attack and its effects are negated. Moving on from the big hitter Blue Eyes to the supportive Eyes of Blue, we now also have the support monsters, typically monsters that Kaiba used in the anime, or he used them in the anime, and they got modern day forms. These are Kaiba Man. Clearly a monster Kaiba commissioned to have in his likeness because its effect is you can tribute this card, special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. It has an upgraded form, Kaiba Man the Legend. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can show 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in your hand, deck, face up on the field, and or grave. Special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, deck, or grave. If you special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card is in your grave, you can banish this card, add 1 Blue Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. Lord of D. Neither player can target dragon monsters on the field with card effects. This monster is always paired with the Flute of Summoning Dragon, which lets it special summon up to 2 dragon monsters from your hand. However, Lord of D must be on the field to activate and to resolve this effect. Lord of D has 2 upgraded forms. Dictator of D, while you control a Blue Eyes monster, you choose the attack targets of your opponent's attacks. You can send 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck to the grave, special summon this card from your hand. You can discard 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon or 1 card that mentions it, then target 1 Blue Eyes in your grave, special summon it. The King of D. This card's name becomes Lord of D while on the field. When this card is normal summoned, you can discard 1 spell or trap, add 1 The Flute of Summoning Dragon, the Melody Awakening Dragon, or Dragon Revival Rhapsody from your deck to your hand. Since it was brought up, these two obviously support the Blue Eyes cards, and both of them feature Lord of D in their artworks. The Melody of Awakening's effect is discard 1 card, add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. Dragon Revival Rhapsody, if you control a spellcaster monster, typically Lord of D, you can target up to 2 dragon monsters in your grave, including at least 1 normal monster, special summon them. Your opponent, however, takes no damage this turn. Kaiser Seahorse. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for a tribute summon of a light monster. Essentially, this card makes it easier to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon with just 1 tribute. However, it has an upgraded form. Neo Kaiser Seahorse. If you control Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can target 1 Light Tuner you control, increase or decrease its level by 1. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send 1 Blue Eyes monster or 1 monster that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to the grave, except Neo Kaiser Seahorse. The White Stone of Ancients. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in your grave because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can banish this card from your grave, target one Blue Eyes monster in your grave, add it to your hand. The White Stone of Legend. If this card is sent to the grave, add one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. Finally, this last one is kind of a celebration of a Yugi Kaiba collab, and that is the Chronicle Magicians. Chronicle Magician, if a monster with 2500 original attack or defense is normal or special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense. If this card is special summoned, you can target one Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zone. It gains 2500 attack or defense until the end of this turn. Chronicle Sorceress, you can activate one of these effects based on the attributes in your grave. Light, send one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one card that mentions it from your deck to the grave. Dark, send one Dark Magician or one card that mentions it from the deck to the grave. With that, that's all the monsters. However, we're still not done. Blue Eyes got a lot of support. We have the spells and traps. Blue Eyes has only one field spell currently, Mausoleum of White. During your main phase, you can normal summon one level 1 Light Tuner in addition to your normal summon or set. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster you control, send one normal monster from your hand or deck to the grave, and if you do, the targeted monster gains attack or defense equal to the level of the monster sent to the grave times 100. This lasts until the end of the turn. You can banish this card from your grave, add one Burst Stream of Destruction from your deck to your hand. Beacon of White. If you do not control another Beacon of White and you have 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in your grave, target one of them, special summon it, but negate its effects. Also, equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. Other monsters you control cannot attack. Also, if you have any number of Blue Eyes monsters in your grave, the equipped monster can attack up to that number of times during each battle phase. Majesty with Eyes of Blue. Send one Blue Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the grave, target one face-up monster on the field. It cannot attack while it is face-up on the field. Rage with Eyes of Blue. Banish this card and as many cards as possible from your hand, field, and grave face down, and if you do, special summon up to 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck. You cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this card except Blue Eyes White Dragon. Vision with Eyes of Blue. When this card is activated, you can reveal one Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. Special summon one monster from your hand. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster you control, return that face-up monster to the hand, then you can apply the following effect based on the original name of the card returned to the hand. Blue Eyes White Dragon, special summon one monster from your hand. Other, special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your hand. Wishes for Eyes of Blue. Discard one card, add one level 1 Light Tuner and one spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand, except Wishes with Eyes of Blue. You can banish this card from your grave, target one Blue Eyes White Dragon you control, equip one Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck as an equip spell that gives it 400 attack. You can only use each effect of Wishes with Eyes of Blue once per turn. Bingo Machine Go. Reveal 3 cards from your deck that each meets at least one of the criteria listed below. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand. Shuffle the rest back into the deck. Must be a Blue Eyes monster, a spell or trap that specifically lists the card Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, except Bingo Machine Go. If you don't know what this card is, it is, you remember the Battle City tournament when they were choosing who people were going against? Well, it is that, it's that card. I love all of Kaiba's Blue Eyes themed technology, always ends up as a card. It's so cool. Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. Special summon in defense, one Blue Eyes monster from your deck, graveyard, or banishment. But if you control no Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can only special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon with this effect. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except dragon monsters. You can banish this card from your grave, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including a Blue Eyes monster. Silver's Cry. Target one dragon normal monster in your grave, special summon that target. Strength in Unity. If you ritual or fusion summon using Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, you can target one card your opponent controls or in their grave, banish it. You can send this face-up card from the field to the grave, target one level 7 or higher normal monster in your grave, add it to your hand, or shuffle it into the deck. Ultimate Fusion. During the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as a material by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it from your hand, field, and or grave into the deck. Then you can destroy face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons used as materials from the field. The Ultimate Creature of Destruction. Target one Blue Eyes monster you control. This turn, that face-up monster is unaffected by card effects except its own. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, any monster it battles is destroyed at the end of the damage step. While this card is in your grave, if you normal or special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Majesty of the White Dragons. Show up to 3 of the Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand, face-up monster zone and or grave, and destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. You can banish this card from your grave, ritual summon 1 ritual monster from your hand by attributing Blue Eyes White Dragons from your hand or field, whose total levels equal its level. Destined Rivals. If you control Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. True Light. Your opponent cannot target Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zone with card effects. If this face-up card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use the following effect of True Light once per turn, and you can only activate one of these effects. Special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or grave, set 1 spell or trap directly from your deck that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon in its text, with a different name from the cards you control and in your grave. Now, if you're somebody that wants to make a Blue Eyes deck, well, I'm going to give you a little skeleton to work with. If you want just the most popular to make a modern day Blue Eyes deck, what everybody is using, well, these are the cards to use out of everything I've listed above. The original Blue Eyes White Dragon, Sage with Eyes of Blue, Maiden of White, Neo Kaiser Seahorse, Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons, Wishes for Eyes of Blue, Mausoleum of White, Bingo Machine Go, True Light, and Majesty of the White Dragons. In terms of the extra deck, you want a Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Spirit Dragon, Ultimate Spirit Dragon, Indigo Eyes, and Spirits with Eyes of Blue. And that is every single Blue Eyes White Dragon card that I have been able to remember. There could be more. There could be like slightly reference cards that could probably fit in this video, but that is as much as I'm willing to do today. Guys, this was a lot of work. Please subscribe. This took a while. This is what we ended on, 50 minutes. We'll see what the video ends up as though. Subscribe if you fancy, it would mean the world to me. If you want to pick up your own Purple Eyes Grey Dragon t-shirt, there is of course a link down below. Other than that though, thank you all for watching. Catch you later. Bye everyone.